Hello, hello, hello. Miss Justice, number one in here tonight. All right. God bless. Much love, PG. Much love to you, girl. You know it. Hey, Linda. Good to see you. Number two. Hello, PG. Hello to you. And Karen, number three. Linda, number two. You, number three. Oh, wow. And Deputy Sheriff, number four tonight. Howdy, everybody. Howdy to you. Good to see you, Deputy. God bless. Much love. All right. Let me get down through here, you guys. Second to none. How you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. And Carla, there you are, girl. Good to see you too. Mama 3. That is so cute, Mama 3. Lovely London. I love that. I love that too. Melanie, how you doing tonight, sweetie? Hello, PG and Chad. Hello to you. She said I changed my name. All right, girl. I heard that. God bless. Um, Not sure how to pronounce that. I'm gonna call you OC. As I'm gonna call you OC. Good to see you in here, girlfriend. God bless. Um, I wanted to come in tonight and cover not just Summer's case, but also there is another missing child. Genesis. Her name is Genesis. Put a one in the chat if you've been following Genesis case. Oh, I'm not seeing no ones. So, okay. Mama 3, you've been following Genesis case? Yeah. She's a 3-year-old little girl missing. I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. Oh, she is, yeah. She's from Enterprise, Alabama, absolutely. And she is just adorable. She is adorable little girl. So, and her mother, they put her mother in jail because, oh, okay. I was hearing they were reporting that she was 3 years old, not 2. They were saying she was 3. So she won't be 3 until March. All right. I know the news and everything was saying she was 3 years old. I was expecting her to be going on 4. So she was only, wow, that makes it even worse. That makes it even, that's even worse. Wow. God be with us. God be with us, you guys. This is, yeah, that's not, I don't know. I don't know about this world. Every time you turn around, it's another baby, right? Another baby. Children are falling. Children are becoming the target of all evilness. And people have to stand up and start doing something about it. I understand that they're going to, they're thinking of, putting a very much stiffer law in effect for people who, for essayers who, brutalize little ones like that. Much stiffer. And I'm all for it. I am, I am all for it. Praise the Lord, that somebody's finally stepping up and trying to do something, you know, to get these people out of our society forever, right? Forever. And that would definitely be forever, you know. The law that they're trying to put in place in a lot of states is, forever. The person, you ain't getting a uh get out of jail free card. You're not even going to get jail. You're going to pass you're going to pass up the jail cell and go straight to the you know where they just you're going to pass up jail and just end up in hell, right? That's what they're thinking of doing to these people. And I don't even believe I don't even, believe in the death sentence, but in this case, I'm all for it. You know, you keep your grubby freaking hands off of children, right? Keep your grubby hands the hell off children. People like that, there's no fix. There's no fixing those kind of people. And like I said, if you can't fix it, what else are you to do with it? What else are you to do with it? But do what the court system is now looking at doing. Just get them out of our society altogether. And I gotta say, I'm 100% for that. But anyway, this is the little girl. This is her
Coffee
mother.
County authorities could.
This is the little girl. That's her mother. Her mother is in jail. Usually they only, make your bond, set your bond at like, 15,000 or so. They put her bond at like $1 million, right? They got mommy's bond. She gave false information. She went to jail because she was, had given false information to law enforcement. Don and Candus gave a lot of false information to law enforcement too, right? I mean, they gave law enforcement a ton of false information. They even stood up there and told law enforcement where Summer wasn't. And if you can tell law enforcement where a child isn't, then you got to know where it's at. And they still didn't arrest them, right? They still didn't arrest them. I'm going to tell you, there's something really, really freaking not right in the Summer Moon Utah Wells case. There is something just not freaking right in that case. It's like somebody does not want it solved for some reason. I mean, you just don't hand out free cards. You just don't hand out free cards like that. Without reason. And I feel that Don Candus and Grandis was getting free passes, if you know what I mean, right? Because they let Grandis leave. They let this woman just, pack it up and leave the state without going through her entire vehicle before she left. Right? That don't make no sense. We've got a missing kid, and they let this old lady pack it all up and leave without checking her entire vehicle before she did, without having the detectives follow her, right? Without having detectives follow her to see, if she made any stops. something just wasn't right about, everything where Summer's case was concerned. Um, most of the time, they, tell you, don't be going nowhere. Do not leave the state. Do not leave the state, Grandma. Do not leave the state, Don Wells. Don't leave the state, Candus, right? Do not leave the state until we tell you you can leave. And usually that's 6 months to a year, right? They hold them up in there like 6 months to a year before they can go anywhere. Even if Grandma says, well, my doctor, well, you're going to have to call your doctor and explain to your doctor, right, that you ain't coming. Find you a doctor in Tennessee. Lady, you don't live in Wisconsin. Your ass has been living in Tennessee up here on this hill in a trailer for quite a few years. Get you a doctor in Tennessee. That's the best I could tell you. Had no problem going to the emergency room in Kingsport, right, on June the 15th, 2021. You had no problem using the doctors then. So why the hell you got to go all the way to Wisconsin to see a doctor now, right? You keep your ass right here up on this hill where you've been for the last mother freaking 10 years, right? You stay right where you're at. That's what I would have said. But this is the mother of this beautiful, ain't she beautiful? She is just adorable little girl. And she's missing. And she's missing.
Coffee County authorities could charge Adrienne Reed with murder even if they don't find her daughter's body, though it would be challenging to obtain a conviction without that key piece of evidence. Challenging, but not impossible. In fact, it happened only a few years ago in the same county. In 2018, Coffee County prosecutors used a plethora of circumstantial evidence to sway jurors to return a guilty verdict against Malcolm Hunter, though searchers never found the body of his estranged girlfriend. Their success rested on two key elements: convincing jurors that Ayanna Smith was dead and that Hunter, beyond a reasonable doubt, was the one who killed her. In neighboring Covington County, a girl who disappeared nearly 30 years ago has never been found. While authorities won't confirm a suspect, it is generally believed they have one, but, without a body, no charges have been filed. In the current case, Reed, 33, has not been publicly identified as a murder suspect as authorities continue to search for her missing 2-year-old daughter, who her mother claimed crawled out of her bed and walked out the door into early morning darkness on Monday. Neighbors believe and investigators suspect that little Genesis Reed had been gone long before then, and authorities were so convinced Reed lied to police that they charged her with making false reports to law enforcement.
There you go. False reports to law enforcement. Well, she gave just about the same damn story as Candus, right? My daughter went out a door, right? Just walked out a door, and something happened. Got up, just walked out a door, and something happened. She, the exact, Candus says, Summer went down the basement, went out the door, disappeared. This woman says, my daughter got up, went out the door, disappeared. And you know what? They got her ass locked up. They got her locked up, saying that, she gave false information. Well, why is Candus still free? Why is Candus still free? I don't know. Because we all know it's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. I mean, she can't even remember if the door was open or if it was closed. Because nobody went out it. Nobody went in the basement. Nobody went out a door. That's why Candus couldn't remember if a door is open or closed. And law enforcement knows that if a child comes up missing, the parent's going to know. The parent's going to be checking that door. They're going to check to see if it's open or if it's not, right? If the door's locked, then you know the kid probably didn't go out it. Right? If it's open, then you know that's the way they went out. And Candus can't remember. She can't remember. She remembers everything, right? Every single thing that happened that morning, from the time they got up and they took grandma into Kingsport and they went to the emergency room and they went to Hunter's, and then went back to get grandma. And then, Candus knew every last, the first smoke shop she went to, the second one where she got, the twisted teas and all the stuff that, she introduced a minor to, right? Yeah. She literally aided and abetted a minor with illegal substances, right? Which is against the law. She didn't even go to jail for that. She didn't even go to jail for engaging a minor into adult activity that is illegal, right? No, she didn't go to jail for that. She didn't go to jail for anything. You got to wonder why. Why? I mean, she knew, they went to drop off the prescriptions, went to the swimming hole, and then after the swimming hole, back through Walgreens, right, where grandma got really upset because she didn't get the good medication she wanted, like she wanted. They said, no, because we done give you the big shot in the knee. You ain't getting none of that stuff, right? The stuff that she runs to Wisconsin to pick up because she can. And then they go over to Sonic's. They go to the store to buy a couple good cold, milk jugs to put Summer on. And some groceries that they knew the boys would be all over. So they wouldn't be paying attention if Summer gets out of the vehicle or not. And they would be able to gaslight them up later as if she did. Yeah. She remembered all of that. Every last bit of it. But she couldn't remember if a door was open or closed. Bullshit.
She is jailed after Coffee County District Attorney James Tarbox convinced a judge to place her under a $1 million cash bond on a charge that generally would have no higher than $15,000 posted and would result in little, if any, prison time. While Tarbox won't call Rita murder suspect, his actions suggest he believes otherwise. Knowing that a high bond won't hold up forever, Tarbox's hopes of finding Genesis Dim must decide whether he'll file murder charges if her body isn't found and whether he can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the girl is dead and that her mother, Adrienne Reed, killed her.
So they believe that the little girl, that this beautiful child right here, had disappeared way before the mother finally reported it. The neighbor said, we haven't seen this little girl for like over a month. Everybody's saying, we ain't seen her in weeks. We don't believe she was even there for like a long time. Finally, mommy's reporting her missing. And law enforcement is like, we brought in search dogs, and the search dogs can't get, no scent of this little girl inside nor outside of this home. And if this little girl was here, the search dogs would be getting a scent of the little girl, and they're not getting a scent of anything, right? And they put her in jail, moved her completely out of her home, and they're inside of it. They're inside the home, going through it I mean, law enforcement's done went in and raided that house, something fierce, right? And they didn't do that at the wells. They didn't do that at the wells, did they? No. They let them guys stay up in there, hide everything they needed to hide, destroy whatever they needed to destroy, right? The wells was right there on the property, destroying whatever they needed to destroy right in front of law enforcement's face. And law enforcement was liking it, which don't sound normal to me. It don't sound normal to me.
Enterprise Police Department gives update on missing 2-year-old girl. The Enterprise Police Department briefed the press on the state of the search for the missing 2-year-old Genesis Reed. Authorities say they have not scaled back the search. They're approaching the search methodically and will continue working to locate Genesis through the weekend. Agencies across the state are working together to bring Genesis home, including the FBI. It's very emotional, all of us, just about 90% of us have kids, said EPD Chief Michael Moore. We will search anywhere leads take us. Reed was reported missing by her mother, Adrienne Reed, 33, on Monday, February 16. Reed claims that she found the door to their apartment open and said Genesis walked out by herself around 3 a.m. as EPD was searching the surrounding area. They noticed inconsistencies in the information provided by Reed, prompting a more intensive investigation. They now say that Genesis has not been seen by anyone in several weeks. While Genesis' father and family cooperate with the search, Reed has been arrested for false.
Oh yeah, and I heard through the grapevine. I heard through the grapevine that the dad of this little girl, I guess he's out of Florida, right? And I guess he showed up, and him and the mother really, I guess, it was something to see them two going at it. I mean, it was like a big quarrel between the two of them, right outside of the apartment building, and it was getting ugly. It was getting very ugly, and the dad, I guess, the dad felt that it was doing more damage to the child's case than helping the child's case with them going at each other like that. So, yeah. It didn't go good. It did not go good from what I'm hearing.
False reporting to law enforcement authorities. Reed has been taken to Coffee County Jail, where her bond set to $1 million cash only. If she were to make bond, Reed would have to comply with strict conditions like GPS monitoring, daily check-ins, and more. During the press conference, EPD officials were asked if they thought Adrienne Reed would be charged similarly to another person from Coffee County. In 2018, Malcolm Hunter was convicted of killing his girlfriend and sentenced to life in prison for her murder, all without investigators ever finding a body. Every case is different, Moore said in response. It's too soon to speculate. Speculation has apparently ran rampant in the discussions surrounding the search for Genesis. Officials also addressed the spread of misinformation surrounding the case, noting that speculation and unverified claims circulating online can interfere with an active investigation, EPD wrote in a statement on Facebook. The public is encouraged to rely on official updates released by the Enterprise Police Department. Additionally, they clarified that although they are looking for a Mariah as a person of interest, it is not the person of the same name who lives near Genesis and Reed.
Isn't she beautiful? She is a beautiful little girl. And did you see where they gave, where she got billboards? She got 2 billboards really fast. I mean, really fast. 2 billboards went up for her. Summer didn't get no billboards for weeks. It was weeks. like weeks and weeks into Summer's case, before Summer even got, any billboards at all, right? It was a few weeks into her case before she even got, a reward fund. Somebody finally gave 10,000 at the beginning, and then people started adding to it, and they couldn't wait to take it. Did you take note that Tennessee couldn't wait to take Summer's reward fund? They was after it the minute she, the very second she started getting it. People were still putting money into the reward fund when they was already planning, and been planning to take it. Everybody that wanted to put into Summer's reward fund didn't get an opportunity to put into it, because that's how fast, the state was on taking it away from her and applying it where they wanted it to go, which, in my opinion, was probably their damn pockets, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with me. Probably in their damn pockets. And they just, they didn't want this child having nothing to initiate people to have a reason to come forth and tell anything, in the future. I mean, at the beginning, everybody was all scared up, right? They were all scared up. And then by the time that they're got some nerve up and overcome the fear, of whatever happened, they got the reward fund gone, and there's nothing to come forward for anymore, right? There's nothing there to be had that is worth telling. And it just seems like, somebody in some high places, it seems like, had some fear in the Summer Wells case, and and wanted that reward fund. For one, didn't want one to be there to begin with, and neither did Don and Candus. Once they found out they couldn't get it, they didn't want it to be there either. So, it seemed like this just is not a normal case. It's not a normal case. It just seems so much like someone wanted the reward fund out of the way. They wanted the billboards out of the way. They wanted everything out of the way when it came to Summer Wells. That's just, from what I was, observation, what I was seeing, and all of you were seeing. You saw the same thing I saw, how the Wells didn't want no billboards. You seen how they didn't want no reward funds. And all of this is suspicious. It's very damn suspicious. I mean, if you didn't do anything, you wouldn't be fighting so hard, against all the things that could find a child, right? You wouldn't be fighting against a reward fund. You wouldn't be fighting against billboards. What I'm saying is, from the very beginning, Don and Candus and Grandis was more fighting against, all the attention for Summer instead of being for it. And that's just a big red flag. It's a big red flag. And it also seemed like, some higher up people was seeking the same thing, right? They were seeking to get rid of the reward fund, seeking to get rid of the billboards, seeking to get, rid of anything that might initiate anyone from talking about what happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells, and I haven't ever, come across a case like that, right? I haven't ever came across a case like that. Just saying. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. right? Just saying. Well, it just it's just that other other states, well, even Tennessee, when Carly Trent was missing, you know, Tennessee was on its high horse, right? It was on its high horse to find this child. It was on its high horse to get this child returned. It was on its high horse to say, bring everybody out here that's got an extra pair of hands and and a pair of legs to help in this search to get this child found. I mean, they wasn't wasting no damn time. They was doing everything that needed to be done. They were doing everything properly, right? And they found this man, and they found that child, and they did everything, so that law enforcement is not too incompetent to run an investigation a proper way in order to get, um, in order to execute the perfect outcome, right? As in getting the child back. But in Summer's case, you know, they weren't doing that. In Summer's case, let's face the truth. In Summer's case, they stopped. They stopped. Just a minute. Okay, sorry, you guys. Sorry. Um, you know, all I can say is shit happens, right? Shit happens.
Mariah is described as a black woman wanted for questioning in relation to Genesis' disappearance. In another Facebook statement, they said that this woman is a frequent customer at Levels Bar and Grill on Dadeville Ave in Enterprise. Although police want to speak with her, they've emphasized that she's not currently a suspect. The individual who resides in the same area as Genesis and has been referred to as Mariah is not the individual investigators are seeking, Moore said. That person has been fully cooperative, is considered a witness in this matter, and is not a suspect. We ask the public to refrain from speculation and allow innocent individuals to go about their lives without harassment. Part of the search effort.
I agree with that. I fully agree with I fully agree with letting innocent people, a lot of times in these cases, innocent people do, get attacked. They get attacked for no reason. Because they, want to come forth, give information, so forth. I personally know how that feels, right? I personally know how that feels. But seeing that this friend hangs out in some undesirable places, that tells me, that some undesirable things was going on, some undesirable stuff was going on around in and around this child's premises, right? Just by the company that, the mother seems to be keeping. So, I mean, the people they're looking for just hang at places, that humans shouldn't hang at. So I don't know. In this particular case, I don't know. I do know that, like in the Nancy Gumphrey case, a lot of speculation was going on. I understand it with Annie and her husband, because there's a lot of weird stuff where, I'm hearing where they're concerned. But like even the argument, right? The mother went to the house for dinner, and then there was some kind of financial argument broke out before they dropped her off at home. I found that suspicious, weird. Who invites their mother over for dinner to argue with them about financial, about business. She didn't go over there. It wasn't a business lunch or business dinner. It was supposed to be a family dinner, right? Like just all good talk, have a good time, give your mom a break, right? Invite your mother over so she doesn't have to cook, and, give her a night off, hang out with her, be good to her, maybe even watch a movie with her. You probably should see if she didn't, want to just spend the night, go home the next day, since she's there so late and she's so old. And, I just find it suspicious that they invite her over for dinner. She don't even return home till 9:30 at night. Ain't that kind of late? And nobody goes in the house with her to make sure that is safe, right? That is safe, and she gets in safe. A lot about that particular night, creeps me out. And but on the other hand, Savannah and her brother which are totally, you know, in my opinion, totally innocent of everything and anything. You know, they've got some, you know, they've got some bad light shit on them too. You know, like does Savannah want to write a book, or does Savannah, you know, want attention, more attention? You know, people are always. I know what law enforcement's talking about there. You know, people always want to somehow think the worst, and they you know, they start looking at everybody, and everybody becomes a suspect, and you know, it could be overwhelming for the people, you know, trying to do the right things and had nothing to do with anything, and it could be hard on them. That's true.
For Genesis included a search around their house on Apache Drive with certified cadaver dogs from the East Alabama Canine Search and Rescue. No evidence was gained from the search with the K9 unit, and EPD Chief Michael Moore says that it was simply a standard investigation measure.
Yeah, see, and that is why, you know, that is why they're believing that the child, you know, disappeared away from there way prior to when the mother, you know, the mother said that she went missing, because them dogs they wasn't even close to picking up a scent of this little girl anywhere. And if the little girl had been there, they would have definitely picked up a scent.
2 digital billboards with Genesis picture and information have gone up in Enterprise with the assistance of the Alabama Cold Case Advocacy, a statewide nonprofit organization. The billboards are located at Highway 167 North and Highway 84, both at the Boll-Weevil CR intersection. If you want to show your support to the community, a candlelight vigil is being held on Friday, February 20, at 7 p.m. The community asks that you come with a sense of unity in a light source at Bates Memorial Stadium on East Watts St. The gates open at 6:30 p.m. The eyes of the nation are on Enterprise, and our hearts are with little Genesis, said Enterprise Mayor William E. Cooper, Sr. This story has touched people far and wide, and we all pray for the same thing, that God protects her and brings her through this safely. Our community has always come together in times of trouble, and now is no different. I ask you to keep praying. Pray for Genesis, pray for our law enforcement, and pray for everyone involved in this case, that God may guide them and keep this little girl safe. Enterprise.
Amen. Yeah, you know, the mother, she is pretty. She's pretty. Actually, the little girl looks a little bit like her mother, right? She looks a little bit like her mother. And it's kind of like, you know, Leilani and Quentin, right? That little Quentin, he looked just like his mom. And how she could destroy, you know, that little boy, I do not know. I do not know. I probably won't ever know, right? And I just don't understand it. I don't understand how people can be so vicious towards children. Matter of fact, I heard, I don't know how true it is, but I heard, like, you know, over in, I believe it might be Nigeria, they're actually dropping children outside of people's, like, just dropping them on the ground, right? And leaving them there. I don't know what's going on with this world. It's just like all of a sudden, you know, I mean, I know that, you know, back in history, we had a case here and we had a case there, you know, where you had some mentally disturbed human being, you know, doing bad things to their kids and stuff like that. A case, like I said, here or there. Um, but you didn't hear of it very often. Uh, in today's world, you're hearing about it all the time, right? You're hearing about um, children just don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance, you know, in this world today. They're being used and they're being abused and they're being destroyed and the ones that ain't getting used, abused and destroyed, are basically, getting mentally um messed up, into believing all kind, children aren't allowed to be children anymore. I don't know what the hell is wrong with, with the adult human minds in today's world. I don't know what's wrong. They don't think rational for some reason. A lot of human beings just do not, they don't seem to have no fucking brains is what I'm trying to say. And I can't candy coat and sugarcoat nothing. It's not, and I believe in freedom of speech, right? I believe in freedom of speech. And there's something wrong. There's something very wrong with the minds of human beings today wanting to, have control over children instead of just letting them be children. I'm going to tell you something. You send your children to those brick and mortar schools to learn. They go there to learn math, science, history, right? Reading, writing. You send them to school to get educated in the future to become someone. You send them to school so they will be able to have bank accounts and keep up with their bank accounts. You send them to school so they can, be able to read what they're signing when they buy a home or they buy a car or they fill out an application for a job, right? You send them to school to get the foundation of who they're going to become in the future, right? It's a ground level education that can be built on as they get older and mature into adulthood. We don't send them to school, we don't send them to school to be a dog or cat or or anything like that. We don't send them to school, to get education that we do not want them having. We don't send them to school we don't send them to school for people to put their beliefs off on our children. Have your own children. If you want to put beliefs off on someone, have your own children and put them off on your own. Don't be going. The teacher's job is not to put her beliefs off on your child, but to teach your child the basic education is going to need in the future to read, write, to add and subtract, to multiply, and to become someone that can work and own homes and cars and businesses or whatever they want to do. I personally, don't care what the teacher's beliefs are. That's not part of her job. She gets paid to teach the basic educational books that are there for the children to learn from. Nothing more, nothing less. You're not there to tell a child what it should be or could be that parents don't want to be hearing. They don't even let children outside anymore. The schools don't even let the children outside to run and to play and to get the energy out of them. They sit them inside that school and fill their heads more. It seems like, in my opinion, fill their heads more with crap than they are with what the child needs to survive in the future and to build and have a life. Of things it's going to need, right? It's just, it's just the way it is. And, these children ain't even old enough to date. What I'm trying to say is they're not old enough to even be going out and dating. They're not even old enough to be thinking about anything like that they're trying to teach them today within the school system. And it should be against the law. It should be against the law to talk to a child about things they shouldn't know nothing about. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Because I'm going to tell you something. If some stranger on the street came up and talked to your kid about what them teachers are talking to your kid about, you would have, the law enforcement would arrest them. Law enforcement would call them, a perv, right? They would say they're a perv. Well, okay, if they're going to call somebody on the street that, then what's the damn difference when it's being done in the school? That's all I'm saying, right? I don't care who the hell does it. It all falls under the same category. Just saying. And that's what's wrong with our world today. And I'm going to tell you, you got a lot of parents out there that want too much damn attention. There's a lot of parents out there seeking attention. Just saying. You got a lot of weird parents who's trying to live a life through their kid and get attention through their kid. And that's just freaking weird. It's weird as hell. You're supposed to protect your kid, not try to live through it. You're supposed to watch over your children, not supposed to try to use them, to get some weird attention. Taking them to doctors and taking them to psychologists. Those parents are the ones that need to be going to psychologists. If you ask me, that's my opinion. Because there's something fucking wrong with you. Kids, the only attention children need is to get outside and be allowed to be a child. To be able to, just learn what they're supposed to learn. Age appropriate. And leave all that other stuff for when they become an adult. Right? They can make their own choices when they become 21 and older. But until then, leave them alone. Let them just be a kid and quit filling their minds with BS. You know, I personally, in my opinion, feel that the school systems are trying to overstep their authority. They're overstepping their authority. They are public servants. They are public servants. They get our taxes, pay their paychecks. They fucking work for us. We do not work for them. They do not own our children. Those are our children. And they need to understand that. They need to understand who's the boss, right? Who's the boss? You go to work all day to pay the taxes for their asses to get paychecks. Just saying. And they need to be teaching our kids what we want our kids taught, not what the fuck they want to teach them. Just saying. Our kids should be wearing what we want them to wear, not what they want them to be wearing. Giving them too much damn control, and they're taking advantage of it. They're taking advantage of it. It's time that people stand up and we take our country back. That's all I'm saying. And it's time that we make stiffer laws for people who hurt little babies like this. It's time that, you know, if this mother did such an evil deed to this child, her ass should be going to prison forever and a day. No chance of parole. No chance of parole. What she could do, what she can do, if she doesn't want to spend life in prison, she should be able to make a choice if she would like to just, you know, just go ahead and take the real penalty and just, you know, sell on out of here. Because obviously there's no room in this world for people who want to destroy little children. And there's no room in this world, you know, for a school system that's seeking to do the same, only in a different way. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it. You know, a lot of people don't want to touch on this stuff because they say, oh, it's too touchy of a topic. Everything's too touchy of a topic. Well, if we set our asses around and don't want to face it, and we want to, and you know, and we want to let these people that try to control how we speak and what we speak, and you know, and so forth, silence you, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to silence you by making you feel like it's too touchy of a topic to talk about. I'm going to tell you something. I think the touchy fucking topics are what they're talking about, not what we're talking about. And it's time the table turns, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with that. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it 2. I'm going to tell you something. You wouldn't have silenced the old folks. The old folks, boy, I'm going to tell you what, the old folks really had an ass and they had a fucking spine. And they got up and they wasn't, you know, they wasn't sitting on their hands. They got the hell up. And they went out there and they stood for what they believe in, and no one was going to shut them up. Nobody's going to shut them up. You know who needs to shut up was the people trying to shut them up. And they did. Because people knew how to stand together for what's right in the sight of God Almighty. And it's time we start standing up and doing the same as they did back then. We need to join that allegiance back there. That's all I got to say. And you know, I don't give a fuck who it offends, right? I don't care, because it offends me when there's people taking advantage of children, on top of children, freaking, trying to destroy these babies before they even get started. They're trying to already destroy them. No. That shit is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Some people say, PG, why do you repeat yourself? Because some things I say are worth repeating. Right? Some things are worth repeating. I figure that if people in the back didn't hear it the first time, I'll say it again so they do. I'd be the first one to stand up and let you know I wouldn't send my child inside of a brick and mortar school. I wouldn't even dare. I know what's in there. I've seen it. I've seen too damn much of it. And I ain't sending my kid in there. I know how these people think, how they want to use all this bullshit to lock it down so they're free to do what they please. I'm going to tell you what, I don't trust them. Just saying. That's how I feel. Right? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm raising kids, but I'm raising kids right. I'm raising kids like back in history. I'm raising kids that believe in God Almighty and ain't ashamed of it. I'm raising children that know how to say thank you, excuse me, and have respect, kindness, caring, and love for not only their siblings, for their siblings, but for all people around them. Because that's how Jesus was, right? Jesus had love for everybody, not somebody. I'm raising children who are learning how to read and write, so in the future they know what the hell they're signing. They know if somebody's trying to put one over on them or not over on them, because that's important, especially in today's world where everybody's trying to get over on you, right? I'm raising kids who's going to know their math. They're going to know how to calculate whether it's a good price or it ain't. I'm raising children that want a home. They want a good job. They want a nice home. They want nice vehicles. They're not interested in illegal freaking substances that end up leading you down a dark alley where you ain't going to have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. The dealer's going to have all of that. You can forget about it. I'm raising children to be smart, not calculating. I want them to make their own, not be trying to mess somebody else out of all of theirs. I'm raising kids that ain't going to get messed out of theirs either, because they know how this world is. And they know to watch out. They know to watch out for those wolves in sheep's clothing, because they're crawling everywhere. Right? That's what I'm raising. Nothing else. I'm not raising no cats and dogs. Not putting letter boxes in my bathroom. That's bullshit. I ain't raising none of that. Leave the costumes. Leave the costumes for freaking Halloween. And you know what? We don't celebrate that, so I don't have to worry about costumes anyway. You go to the mall, you see people walking around with Halloween costumes on, right? They're walking with a big old tail, hanging. I just want to grab a hold of it and pull, right? Wondering how it's attached. For real. Hey, girl. Good to see you in here, Bridget. Good to see you, girlfriend. God bless. Much love. Yeah, just saying. But I wanted to talk about Don and Candace Wells tonight. And they, the way you remember back there at the beginning, Don and Candace were acting like, Candace is like, oh, I don't think Summer would go to a man, but I think she'd go to a woman. Basically putting a spotlight on Lora, right? Putting the spotlight on Lora and Fred Hill. Lora and Fred. Oh, like Lora, would come up here and take, and Summer would go with her. They were putting a spotlight on, on Lora. They also stuck the spotlight, put the spotlight on Allison and her kids as well, right? But they put it on Lora and Fred there at the beginning. And you got to wonder why. Why would they be putting the spotlight, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about that come Saturday, because I want to get to the bottom of this one because it's something that's been on my mind. And you'll see how it all ties in. You'll see how it all ties in at the end of it all. You'll say, wow, yeah, I didn't think about that. But I think it's high time that, that we face the truth and we look into the mechanics of how this certain group of people, don't only tie into one another, but also how they became this circle that that functions together, which is surrounding this one child. Now, Summer's the one child that disappeared. I got a feeling she isn't the only child that this group of people, formed around. And we gotta think about how did these people truly meet? How did these people truly form together? Did they form the way they said, or did they form in a different way? I think you might be surprised when you find out that a lot of what we believed was not the truth. Summer's case, when people talk about, the Twilight Zone, people talk about the rabbit holes, they talk about all this weird, stuff that sounds so far-fetched. it's not so far. It's not so far. I think that, at the end of all of this, you're going to find out how close this stuff really is to our own backyards, right? You're going to learn that, these people exist. They exist in many different areas, and they move in order to function and work more efficiently in their evilness, right? Yeah. And the sad thing is, you don't ever know who the freak they are. You don't know. They don't have a dot on their forehead, nor a tattoo on, a big tattoo sticking out. They don't have any type of defect that's able to be, spotted on the surface to know them when you see them. And that's what makes it so dangerous. That's what makes it so dangerous. And they're always searching. For humans to use and abuse. Whatever their fix is, they're always looking for it. And it's sad. It's sad. Because no one, I mean, it used to be, you hear about a child here or there that, they got took off by, some mentally disturbed human. And now it's like almost an everyday occurrence. It's like an everyday occurrence with these people, violating children, using and abusing, destroying. It's a sad case. It's a sad case in our society. And you got all of these parents, having to hover over their kids now, right? Children no longer are safe to walk to school. You have to take them, you have to pick them up. They ain't safe to go, they ain't safe to go to their friend's house. You have to, if you're going to allow it, you have to take them, you have to pick them up. They're not safe. They're not safe anywhere. Kids can't just get with other friends and go to the movies. They have to be chaperoned. They have to be taken by adults and watched every second and brought back home, right? They can't go to the nearest hamburger shop and hang out with their friends, have some sodas or anything. They can't go to a pizza shop and have pizza. They got to be chaperoned by adults. Kids have to be watched every second. Why? Because we live in a messed up world where so much evil exists and children are no longer safe. They're safe nowhere. If you ain't got people trying to physically harm them, they're trying to mentally destroy them, right? Our children are they're under attack in this world. And it's the truth. And so are old people. And you better think about it. Because if the children, if they're getting away with, what they're doing to the children, and they're getting away with what they're doing to the old people, do you think you will not be next? Do you think you will not be next? It's like stand in line, pick a number, because it's going to come up. Trust me. Somebody better step up. Somebody better stop feeling like this topic is just too touchy to talk about. People better say no. This topic isn't the one that's touchy to talk about. The topics they're talking about are the damn touchy ones. And it's touching me in the wrong damn way. And we ain't standing for it no more. And we want our children safe again. That's what we pay tax money for. That's what we pay the law. That's why we have law enforcement. That's why we all work and pay money in. It's to these people to do their jobs. And their job is to keep these people out of society so that children can be safe to go to their friend's house, so they can be safe to ride their bicycle, so they can be safe to run around and have fun and be children. So they can go out at recess and play. Right? Instead of being hidden to school all day and then hidden again in the house the rest of the evening and night. These kids ain't even getting no sunlight. They're not even getting no sunlight. Tons and tons of children. They want to talk about how the children are obese. What do they expect them to be when they ain't safe to go outside and run around and play like normal children do? What do they expect them to be? It used to be, and back in history, people ate their food, especially kids, and then they ran outside and worked it off, right? They ran outside and worked it off by playing, by riding bicycles, shooting basketball, swimming, doing all kinds of sports and stuff. And they didn't have a problem with nobody being obese. They used to walk to school. They were all safe walking to school every day and walking home and getting exercise and sunlight. But they can't do that anymore. So don't complain when the law system and the court system is the problem for not keeping the streets clean enough for the children to be safe enough to be on, right? There you go. That's my opinion. I'll keep it too. They know the average people don't think about what I'm saying. The average people just listen now and put into submission and feeling like all of this is too touchy for them. And a lot just don't care. They don't care. They just go about, their day because, the computer is their life. The computer is their life. A lot of people are addicted. They're addicted to this box. A lot of people ain't cleaning their houses because they're on this box all the time. A lot of people ain't cooking and cleaning and doing everything they need to be doing because they're on the box. Right? People ain't raising their kids right. They don't have time to be outside watching and taking care of their kids because they're addicted to this box. And therefore they keep the kids in the house on, cooped up and playing just on different devices, just like they are. And it's became, and it's became the norm. It's became the norm. And nobody knows anybody anymore. Nobody knows anybody. All their socialization is through a box, through a game machine, through a phone. It's damn ridiculous. I don't know. I'm going to tell you what. I ain't living my life in a box. I work all day. I use this box. I work all day and I turn it off. I turn it off. And I spend the evenings with my family and I do things because I got to have a normal life. I get off work. I got to live a normal life. I get back on this box. I get back on this box in the evening for these missing children and stuff because I think it's very important for all of this to be out there. And this is the only way to get it out there. This is the only way. It used to be, everywhere because they didn't have a thousand channels that people could watch without ever seeing the news. Right? Nobody watches the news. Nobody, they ain't such thing as a newspaper, right? There's no such thing as a newspaper, a real newspaper anymore. So, how else are you going to get it out? You got to be out here getting it out. They took away everything that once alerted everyone to the real shit that needed to be known in this world. And they replaced it with all of this BS. This BS to take your focus off of the real stuff that once mattered. It still matters. It still matters. You just don't know it because you're not hearing it, you're not seeing it. And you're not, standing up. You ain't standing up for it because it's not touching you. It's not touching you. What I'm saying is the news ain't coming to you to, enough to make you care. That's what I'm trying to say. It used to be, you watch the news and you hear about this tragedy or that tragedy and it touched you enough to stay tuned and to put your hands and feet out there if need be and help people. They don't have that no more. It used to be that, they had a bunch of papers flying on every household porch that had this little, girl's
involved in this case.
Right here. It would have had her picture. And everybody would have knew to look for her. You know how many people haven't even seen this child? They don't know anything about this child being missing. So how are they going to look for her? How would they know her if they saw her? They don't. They wouldn't know. How many other channels have you seen covering Genesis case? Probably none. They're all busy with Nancy. They're all busy with Nancy's case. And this little girl needs her case out here. This little girl needs us to help find her. You know, Nancy is everywhere. Like everybody in the world knows about Nancy because Nancy's daughter is a big news reporter. Even the president of the United States knows about Nancy. But have you heard the president of the United States talk about Genesis? Have you heard him talk about Summer Moon, Utah Wells? Have you heard him talk about Michael Vaughn or Sebastian Rogers, Jack and Lily Sullivan, or little Emmanuel? No, because they're not important. They're not important. Nobody's a big news person surrounding their cases. Right? Just saying. Just saying. And that's another problem in this world as well. That's a problem. What makes Nancy a somebody and all of these other people nobodies? Because at the end of the day, I think everybody is a somebody when they need help. That's just my opinion. But I want to talk about Summer for a few minutes here. I want to talk about how Candus wanted to implicate Lora and Fred. We're going to talk Saturday about Allison and her bunch. And we're going to talk about some other people as well. We're going to put this ring of evilness in its place. We're going to find how it connects, why it connects, where it connected, when it connected. And we're going to find the truth in it. Because that's the only thing that is going to find and bring Summer home. It's the truth. It's the only thing that's going to bring Nancy home. It's the only thing that's going to bring Genesis home. It's the only thing that's going to bring any of these kids home. We've done heard all the lies. We want the truth.
That's a new one. I never heard of that guy. Never heard of that guy. A little bit maybe in the first two, but I didn't know exactly his name. Somebody said in the comments here, Fred Hill. Is that his name?
I think they're talking about Fred Light.
Fred
No,
Light.
no. There's no Fred Light. It's Fred
Okay.
Hill.
It is Fred Hill?
And that right there shows you that they know the Light family as well, right? That shows you that they know the Light boys, you know, and they're right. I don't think there's a Fred in the Light family. So that shows you, you know, these people are connected.
Fred Hill.
His
Okay.
name's Fred
Okay.
Hill, but you know what? I don't talk about Fred Hill. I don't know who Fred Hill is. The only thing I know about Fred Hill is I'm not going to say this because I don't want it up there.
Right.
And I don't want to, because I've known a lot of stuff that Fred Hill has got away with, and I'm scared, and I'm not going to say anything about it.
You're scared of Fred?
Yeah, I'm scared of Fred. Who the hell?
Oh, she's scared of Fred. But that's the very house she went to on June 15, 2021. The very place she took that ass down to on June 15, 2021, right? That's the first stop she made. The first damn stop she made was at a guy's house that she's so damn scared of. Right? Between 4:30 between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, she's got her ass down there, meeting up with Chad Arnold at Fred Hill's place, right? Don't want to talk about Fred. Don't want to talk about him. Oh no, I can't talk about Fred because I'm so scared of Fred. I ain't going to say nothing about Fred, right? What the fuck? She reminds me of a cartoon character, right? Like, I don't know what cartoon it is, but I'm sure I've heard that Candus's voice in that cartoon, right? I'm so scared, Free. No, don't want to talk about Free. He scared me. Free scared me. My ass. Freddie don't scare you because your ass was down at Freddie's, right? On June 15th, 2021, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. And to be honest, I think that Lora and Fred was there too. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it. And I don't think that Candus is afraid of Freddie at all. I think that I think Don and Candus Wells is basically telling these people, you know, all the people that they were throwing under the bus at the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. The people they were throwing under the bus. Don Wells, first one he threw under the bus was his coworker, because the coworker's the one that the little circle decided to set up until the old man showed up, right? The old man showed up, Jackie Dobbs, for his property, and they're like, oh damn, maybe it'd be better. Maybe Don would be less scared of this old man than he would, you know, Dudley, because Dudley's a little, you know, he's a one of them hillbilly boys that you really don't want to mess with like this. You know, might be a little cray too. So might want to, you know, go with some old Joe that they don't know, that just, you know, showed up out of the blue, that might be a better fit. So they went looking for him to set him up, but he wasn't there to be found. So they had to go back to plan A, because plan B just went down the toilet. So they had to go back to plan A and keep Dudley on the hook. But after that, Don Wells, you know, the first people he started throwing under that bus was Jody, Sue, and Andy, Fred and Lora, Allison and her family. Let us remember the ones that they was really, and you know, they was really going after Allison's family, because that's the family they were the least scared of, right? The least scared of. So they added some extra, you know, whips in there, right? They really whipped it up on them. You know, they wanted to make sure that batter was nice and fluffy and kind of spilling out over the top for them there. Exactly. But think about it. Because I've been thinking about it. Why would they, you know, so prominent on implicating these other families like this? Well, I think it was a message. You know, I think it was a message that they wanted to get across to these people. You know, I think it was a scare tactic to keep them scared from speaking up for that reward, or, you know, or just to be, to be friends with someone from the outside, or, they wanted to put them in check. That's my opinion when it comes to, to the circle of people. And I think if we go through, if we go through each point of that circle, we'll see how it fits and how it came about, and how and really how evil it is.
I ain't gonna be scared of him.
Well, I ain't scared of Fred.
I'm not scared of Fred.
I ain't scared of Fred at all.
I am. He come up there and shoot you and not get
Shit.
away with it.
Shit, he can try. You can tell.
Yeah,
me
but
about Fred Hill.
living back there in the holler
Tell all
though.
about Fred Hill.
But listen, living back there in the holler though, and him shooting and getting away with shooting people and getting away with it, you have to.
And the way that you got away with what you did, Candus, the way that you all got away with what you did to an innocent 5-year-old little girl, is that what you're talking about? Fred got away with stuff just like you guys got away with stuff. What the hell's going up there on that holler there, Candus? What the hell is going on up in that holler that you all seem to be getting away with stuff that should be putting you in prison? That's my opinion. You're getting away with shit that should have you in prison. Something's going on up there, right? Something ain't meeting the eye where law enforcement's concerned. Just saying. Just saying.
You shot in the wall.
So you lost your kids because Fred
Yes.
shot the gun through the wall.
Because Fred's sister come in and had her pistol out, and they was arguing, and Fred shot through the wall so couldn't scare her away.
Oh my Lord. And that's when you lost your kids?
Actually, the day after I lost my kids.
How old was they?
My daughters were 13 and 14, and my little boy was a year old, and my little girl was, my and Fred's little girl together was 6.
Oh wow.
She was in kindergarten.
And you ain't seen your kids since?
I've seen my girls, but I ain't seen my little boy since he was a year old.
Oh wow. Did your little boy go to your family, or they adopt? Yeah. He's with your family too?
But they won't let me see him.
Wow. So Fred wasn't willing to straighten up, and
but actually they wouldn't let me see him while I was with Fred.
How is Fred now? I mean, what do you think Ziggy's got on her hands?
Got a handful of.
I mean,
he's not nothing like he tries to put out there. I'll just tell you that much.
Do you think that Cotton had anything to do with what happened to Summer? I mean, do you think Fred's telling the truth when it comes to Summer's
said
case?
Something to Fred, but I don't know what he said.
And then Cotton ended up. Now listen, she said Cotton said something to Fred, but I don't know what he said. This is on the very same day that Cotton Simpson was followed, and in my opinion, unalived. They found him the next morning.
Said.
And then Cotton ended up dead.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know what he said.
Do you think Fred's telling the truth when it comes to
Cotton
Summer's
said
case?
something to Fred, but I don't know what he said.
And then Cotton ended up dead.
Yep.
Oh, wow. What he said to Fred, was it about Summer's case? Do you know if it was about Summer's case or not?
Fred come in and said something that he told him something about Summer, but he didn't tell me the details.
Summer's case or not? Now listen to her. Listen to her real close. She said that it was about Summer. It was about Summer. What Cotton said to Fred was about Summer.
Fred come in and said something that he told him something about Summer, but he didn't tell me the details. He said,
now listen to what she says. She says Fred told her that he was protecting her. Listen to this.
I didn't need to know because I didn't need to be in the middle of it.
Oh, Lord. Wow. And do you know if law
But
enforcement...
he's protecting me.
Do you hear that? You hear that? Listen. Listen. Oh, Lord. Wow. And do you know if law
But
enforcement...
he's protecting me.
He said he was protecting me. Fred told her he said he was protecting me. He was protecting her. Him and Cotton had a conversation about Summer, and he wasn't going to tell Lora what it was because he's protecting her. So if Fred has information on Summer's, that right there proves that Fred has information on Summer's case that is damning. And it's damning to Fred. It's damning to Fred. And this is the same exact day that Fred followed Cotton and Cotton ended up deceased. Right? The very same day. And Cotton had told his family about seeing Summer in a box at Fred's house. He said he saw Summer in a box up at Fred's house. Now, Candus, there was a tote missing. We seen it. A tote missing from Candus's house. There was a tote there, a black tote there, a couple of days before Summer went missing, because there's a picture of Summer and the other little girl, which was Marlena Crawford's daughter. There was a picture taken of Summer looking sick with Marlena's daughter pretty much holding her up, right? She was holding Summer up. And there was a black tote in the background by Grandis's camper. And then when Chris went up there, about a week after Summer went missing, that tote was gone. The black tote was completely missing. And Cotton was going around saying that he told his mother and he told some other family members that he saw Summer in a black tote. Right? Yes, he did. And him and Fred had a conversation about Summer the very day Cotton ends up unalived. And his funny thing is, his mother came up unalived right about a week before he did. Right here. This is Cotton Simpson's mother. And out of nowhere, out of nowhere, she just ends up dead on the 29th of 2023. And about 2 weeks later, which was February the 14th, Cotton Simpson ends up unalived after Fred followed him. This lady ends up unalived, like I said, about a week or so before her son did. And he told this woman, if anything happened to him, to let law enforcement know what he saw at Fred Hill's house. Right? He told other family members to let law enforcement know what he saw at Fred Hill's house. So I'm going to tell you, if Cotton done something, why would it be damning? Why would Fred be protecting Lora if it was Cotton who did something bad? Why? How could it be, how could it be protecting her? The only way he'd be protecting her is if he was the one that done it. And she was in on it. I'm not going to tell you what he said. I ain't going to tell you what he knows, because it's damning to me and you. And I want to protect you. I don't want you worrying about it. Right? That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So now, that right there proves that Lora and Fred had to have a hand in whatever happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells. That's the only thing it can prove. It can't prove anything else. So what was their part? What was their part? We already know, right? We already know what Hunter's part was. Hell, we know what Grandis's part was. Grandis's part was to use her knee to go into Kingsport to pick up Hunter. Hunter's part was to go with them to the swimming hole and do the dirty deed that they was wanting done, which, freaked him out, right? Freaked him out, made him all knees knocking, teeth chattering, hands shaking, messed him up pretty damn good for quite a long time, probably still is, absolutely. That's my opinion. I'll keep it. So we know their part. We know Candus's part. She was part of it from the get, right? She was part of it from the very get, of shaving that baby's head completely bald and doing all the weird shit that they was doing all the way up till, June 15th, when it all came tumbling down. When finally they put their big couple weeks plan in action. Absolutely. We all know that. So what was Fred's part? What did Cotton know that him and his mother both, within a week apart, needed to be destroyed upon? There you go. Cotton Simpson, February the 14th, 2023. Right there. January 29th, February the 14th. Two people that close, both lost their lives. Both was holding secrets. Both of them holding a secret to Summer's case. And you heard out of Lora's mouth, you heard out of her own mouth that Cotton was talking to Fred about Summer. They had a conversation about Summer. Now, did Don Wells, Don Wells is, and Candus both, they're adamantly saying, we don't know Cotton Simpson. We don't know this guy. We ain't never seen this guy. We know nothing about this guy. Is that true?
Well, I do know that Cotton, the last time I spoke to him, he was talking about being up at 110 the day Summer went missing. And he's talking about sleeping with mother and daughter. He didn't say whether it was Candus and Grandis or Summer and Candus.
Right.
That's what kind of confused me, you know. He didn't specifically say exactly which one.
Do you remember that right after Summer's disappearance that Don and Candus, Grasshopper, it's not about proving things and who plays a part in it, about who has the upper, it's about who has the upper hand in bringing justice. No, because you can't bring justice if you don't prove who did what. You got to prove without a shadow of a doubt. Without the proof, you ain't got nothing to bring to justice. Grandis and all of them, they was acting really. Grandis ran the hell out of there. Andy Bernard ran the hell out of there.
Well, see, the law enforcement made Grandis leave because she's not allowed around children, period.
Well,
I do know that.
There was no children. They took the boys and Summer was missing. There was no children. So
well, she didn't come. See, she left and then come back after the boys was took.
Right. She took off. Actually, Grandis took the hell out of there after the boys were taken. And Andy Bernard, I don't know which one of them got out of there the fastest because Grandis went first. Andy went right after Grandis. Jody Sue went right after Andy. And the funny thing is right there after Cotton Simpson came up unalived, Cotton Simpson had quite a bit of money on him. He had just barely done. Was he at your house the day?
Yeah.
He was there
the day before.
The day before he ended up dead, or the very day?
The day before.
He was at your home.
Yeah.
But he wasn't.
The evening before.
He wasn't.
Not the day that they found him. No, I didn't know nothing about they even finding him. And the
evening before, they found him early in the morning. There was some joggers that was up early jogging through Lora Run Park and found him very early in the morning. He was, but he was done in the evening before. The evening before is when, he was unalived, right? They found him the next day, that morning. But the evening before, he was at good old Freddie Boy's house having a conversation about Summer. And listen to this.
Marvin Simpson had told me that they had found him that he told me that Betty Joe Simpson had called him and told him that they had found cotton and stuff, and that he had a big gash.
Betty Joe Simpson didn't call and tell them crap. Betty Joe Simpson don't even know what the hell Fred Hill is talking about. Because I talk with people who know Betty Joe, who talk to Betty Joe, and she don't even know what Fred is even talking about, that she said all of this stuff. It's bullshit. And Fred knows it. And I'm going to tell you, a woman couldn't have did what was done to Cotton. A woman couldn't have, couldn't have done what was done to Cotton all by herself. No way in hell. Because she couldn't have moved him.
Back his head and stuff. That's why they give me a polygraph, because
they gave you a polygraph, buddy, because you were there. And you knew information that was not released even to Betty Joe. Law enforcement told nobody, but somehow you knew. And your little buddy that was hanging with you knew.
They hadn't released that he had a gash in the back of his head. And the only reason I knew is because she had told Marvin, and Marvin had told me.
No, Fred and Marvin knew, because Fred and Marvin was the people who followed him that evening. And Lora probably was with them.
Right. And that's the only reason I knew,
Right. Hold on, I'm trying to find out exactly when Cotton passed away.
Best I remember, it was, I want to say February the 14th or something. Of 2023, maybe? I'm not.
Yeah, February the 14th, Valentine's Day. Right, February the 14th, right on Valentine's Day. Fred really loved getting that guy out of his way, right? He loved the money. He loved the cigarettes. He loved it all. It was, a big gift. It was a big gift, Valentine's Day gift for Fred, right? He loved it all. He loved it all. I just wonder, is he still loving it? Is he still loving what he's got to live with the rest of his life? Right?
For sure. Seemed like that's what date I remember somebody saying. I'm not for sure.
You remember because, in my opinion, you did it. Right? Come on. February the 14th, 2023. Exactly.
But see, Cotton used to work at Warriors Path up there as a maintenance before, a few years before Summer went missing and stuff.
And he came out on disability.
Yeah.
And he was getting quite a bit of money. He had been in jail for 6 months, and that money had piled up in his bank account, which would have come to around $18,000. It's what he would have had in his bank. Fred said, All right. He didn't have that much on him, did he, Fred? He didn't have that much on him. You're like, I didn't get that much. Oh, damn, these people, man. Yeah, you got to find the humor in their stupidity, or else, or else. And when he was at your house, and then the following morning he was found dead.
The next day, sometime the next day, I don't know what time.
He was found dead.
They said some hikers had found him or something.
Right, the next morning. And Don and Candus, he said he was up there. Now, could he have left your house and stopped by the Wells house?
No, because me and Marvin actually had followed him and stuff to the top of the mountain, and we turned around that top.
Now, did you hear him? He said, we followed him. We followed him. Why do you need to follow a guy that's in a vehicle, a locked up vehicle on his way home? Why do you need to follow him? Why do you got to get behind him and follow him? No. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? He's in a big, safe car. Right, the next morning. And Don and Candus, he said he was up there. Now, could he have left your house and stopped by the Wells house? Now listen to Fred, because he's going to tell you he followed Cotton. And remember, they had just had a big conversation over Summer.
No, because me and Marvin actually had followed him and stuff to the top of the mountain, and we turned around that top of the mountain at the Mountain View at the stop sign. Right. Because when he was at my house, he was wanting to buy a boat and stuff, and I was in partners with somebody else on the boat, and I told him I couldn't really price it right then. I had to get with them and stuff to take and find out what they wanted for their part, Right. And then he got to talking about he was worried about having money and stuff on him. And I don't know why he was talking about worried about getting robbed or whatever. But me and Marvin actually followed him.
Usually Mama of 6, yes, that's true. Usually, when you're incarcerated, the money will stop. Absolutely. The money usually stops until you get out of jail. But his didn't. And I've seen other cases where it didn't as well. And sometimes, when they put you in jail like that, a lot of times, if they don't know, that you're getting anything like that. So they don't know to stop it. If you don't tell it, sometimes they don't check it. Sometimes it takes, by the time, they go to stop it, you're already being released, right? You're already being released. So, in that case, it doesn't get stopped as well. It's like nursing homes. If you put a person in a nursing home, usually if they're drawing Social Security or they're drawing some kind of disability or they've got something, the nursing home ends up, taking that money, all except like a little bit for the person, some little spending money for the person. They leave them so much. I don't know how much, but they leave them so much. And what happens is, so when a person goes in a nursing home, it takes that nursing home, a few months before, everything is switched over to the nursing home. But in the meantime, it'll keep going in to that person's, it would go into your bank account, right? And therefore, it would be a buildup. It'll be a buildup in your bank account. And if the nursing home don't know who you bank with or haven't, don't got your personal numbers or whatever, then they can't touch that. They can't touch that money because they don't know how to touch it. So, or or if you got it while it was going in there, you got it and used it on other things, well, it's gone. They don't end up with it. And it sounds like that's pretty much what happened, in the Cotton Simpson case, because he did, you know, his family, which this particular family member should know, because it's as close to cotton as you can get, as in blood. So they personally told me that he had money in that bank account, because when he passed away, you know, they were the one, they were the ones that had control over, everything Cotton owned and everything Cotton had. So, with that being said, where he banked at, it showed that those checks had went in there, and he had went and drawed a very large, considerable number of money out of that bank account. And he had stopped by a station where he was seen by a couple of people who took note that he had bought a ton of cigarettes from that particular station and had them in the middle of his seat, between, the passenger seat and his seat, the driver's seat. Right in the middle was a crap ton of cigarettes that Cotton smokes, the brand he smokes. They asked him what he was going to do with that many smokes. And he said he just got out of jail and he was going to smoke them. He was going to make up for time. And, I guess they all had a good laugh. And they asked Cotton what, where he's heading, what he's doing. He said he was heading to Fred Hill's house. And that's where he went, was to Fred Hill's house. And that's the last time they saw Cotton. The next thing they heard was Cotton was, found unalived. And these people, later, they go to Fred Hill's house too. It's two people. They go to Fred Hill's house as well. They do not want to be named out here, so I'm not going to do that. But they also hang up at Fred's. And after Cotton was found unalived, these two people made it a point, within 3 to 4 days, to go to Fred's house. When they went to Fred's house, they took note that Fred and Lora was smoking the very packs of smokes that was in Cotton's vehicle. Now, what does that prove? That proves nothing. That just proves, that Cotton could have gave him a couple of packs, just, he had a whole bunch of them. He might have gave them some. So that would prove nothing, that they were smoking, the packs that these two individuals seen in Cotton's vehicle. If you were law enforcement, you would say we could do nothing about that. We can't do anything about that. The guy might have given them some. The funny thing is, there was none in Cotton. They took every pack. They took every freaking pack. They didn't even leave a pack. They took them all. Whoever did what they did to Cotton. There was no smokes found in Cotton's vehicle. Not one pack was found. All the cigarettes gone. All of his money gone. Just saying. That's what happened. And this comes from, this information is firsthand information from the very people that, you know, had all control over Cotton's stuff. They said that the bank account did have the money. Cotton did pull a big chunk of it out. That particular, you know, that particular day, or the day he got out of jail. And he had bought all of those smokes and headed to Fred's house place, where, you know, I think he'd still be alive if he didn't head to Fred's place. That's just my opinion.
We was trying to make sure he made it home or whatever, but once he got to the top of the mountain, instead of turning left to go to his house, he turns right and goes towards Betty Jo's.
Oh, ain't that funny? He turns right to Betty Jo's. Well, they happened to find him, you know, in the middle of freaking nowhere, and his vehicle, you know, by the cemetery where, you know, his mom's buried, because if you turn one way, that's where you go. And no, you know, me personally, this is my opinion. My opinion is, I'm not even sure Cotton was driving his vehicle. I heard Lora was driving Cotton's vehicle, and Fred and the other, I didn't even know about the other guy. I heard Fred was following. I didn't even hear about this Marvin. You know, I guess Fred and Marvin was in the other car. So, you know, that from my understandings, supposedly, you know, they found evidence, you know, that a woman had been driving that vehicle. Now, I don't know if it's because of, you know, I don't know if it's because of perfume. I don't know if it's because of a woman's hair. I don't know if it's because of, you know, a fake fingernail. I don't know what law enforcement has. I do know they got something. That's what I've heard. But, you know, Fred admitted he followed Cotton Simpson the very evening that he met his maker, right? Fred admitted that he knew details about how this man came to be unlived when law enforcement didn't even release it, right? He knew. So, there you go. And what does it all go back to? Where does all of this lead back to? Well, I'll tell you. It leads back to the conversation that Cotton had with Fred about Summer Moon Utah wells. That's where it leads. It leads right back to the conversation he was protecting Lora, right? He was protecting her, she said. He was protecting me.
But he didn't tell me the details. He said I didn't need to know because I didn't need to be in the middle of it.
Oh, Lord. Wow. And do you know if law enforcement...
He's protecting me.
Do you know if law enforcement...
He's protecting me.
Do you know if law enforcement
He's protecting me.
that he was protecting me? I said he was protecting me. I'm going to tell you something. People out here, 4.5 years, people was calling PG an old lady. Granny Clampett. Right? Older than the Ark. PG so old. What the fuck? You want to talk about somebody that sounds like they 100 years old? Listen to this. Do you know if law enforcement
He's protecting me.
said he was protecting me? He said he was protecting me. Oh my goodness, he was protecting me. That sounds like somebody fucking 100 years old right there. Right? And how old is this girl? Like fucking 30? And old Fred's like 50 or 60? Come on. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know, you guys. Yeah, right? And you know the bitch of it all is she got the good shit. I didn't even get the good shit. I mean, I guess she's got an excuse for sounding like she's a fucking 100, right? I ain't got no excuse. Right? Shit. Maybe I should get some of that good, some of that goody good shit. It might make me sound younger. If it made her sound older, that shit, good shit might make PG sound younger. I don't know. Might try it. Right? I might try it. Oh shit. The point being is, Don and Candus were implicating old Freddie boy and Lora into all the stuff. Now listen to this.
See, Candus was seen that day walking off this driveway. One of my friends, he come to see me that day, and I was gone. That was before the law come in the holler. And she was walking off my driveway before someone was reported missing. And then when about septic tank, I got thinking, well, if there was a septic tank on top of the hill up there, they got talking about her puppy in the septic tank or something there, and I got thinking, what if he put her in that damn septic tank?
Candus up my house, and I was thinking, oh, what if she stunk her in that septic tank? What if she stunk? Why didn't you call 911? Why didn't you have them up there checking your damn septic tank, Freddie Hill? Huh? Why didn't you have them up there checking? You didn't have them up there checking it. You didn't tear it apart and start looking down in it either. Right? Like freaking 3-4 years down the road, he wants to talk about how, she might have stuck her in that septic tank. No, I think Andy Bernard gave the most logical explanation for Summer's disappearance. I think Andy Bernard gave the most logical explanation of all. And we're going to hear that on Saturday. We're going to pick it back up and we're going to hear that come Saturday, right? Because PG has already held you guys in here for actually a little while. We've been here for 2 hours and tomorrow is Friday. Friday. Thank God it's Friday, right? And I'm going to tell you what, it's still a work day. Right? It's not Saturday. I might stay longer if it was Saturday, but it's Friday and PG's got to get up. And not only that, but I have to get up for feedings in between all of that because my little man, ain't going to let PG sleep like I once did. Right? So I got feedings to do. And then I got to be up early for work. And PG has been very tired, you guys. Very tired. Little man has no mercy on his mama. So, you can't tell a little baby like that, oh, go back to sleep. No, it ain't going back to sleep. And the whole house will be up if you don't get up, right? So, with that being said, PG's got to head out of here and get up tomorrow morning and full day's work after a long night of motherhood. So, I'm going to ask you all to keep those prayers. I don't ever leave out of here without asking you. Keep them prayers going up for Summer, Moon, Utah, Wells. Keep them going up for little Genesis. Keep them going up for Jack and Lily. Keep them going up for Emmanuel, Michael Vaughn, Sebastian Rogers. Keep them going up for Nancy. Keep the prayers going up for all these missing people because they need your prayers. The best gift you can give anyone is your prayers. And pray for one another. Pray for one another. A family that prays together stays together. We are a family. We are a family put together by God for these missing people in this world. So pray for one another, you guys. It's the best gift you can give. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. PG's going to head out of here. And we're going to take this back up. We're going to pick it back up on Saturday. We're going to hear Andy giving us the details. And I think his is the most credible of all. So let's pick it back up after the 7th. PG does not come in here on Friday because Friday evening starts the 7th and it runs till Saturday evening. And the Bible says to keep the 7th holy, to stay in your place and keep the 7th holy. Keep your mind on God and doing nothing but good, especially on the 7th. You do it every day, but on the 7th, you better be doing it. And PG is going to do her best to get it done. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love.